In the headlines, the Henry boys are laid to rest. The president again pledges to do everything possible to find those who murdered them. Preparations in full swing for a landmark visit by the U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Guyana is keen on seeking deals to boost business, security, and promote democracy. The 2020 budget debate opens.
This budget, this very budget, is not a plan for prosperity, but instead, it is their plan to punish me.
What is in this budget in 1 year gives back to the people that you have taken away for 5 long years.
And in sport, West Indies women aiming for consistency on the England tour. With the news, I'm Neil Marks. We're glad you could join us. 1 week after their mutilated bodies were found in the backlands of Coventry, West Coast, Berbice, Joel and Isaiah Henry were Sunday laid to rest. In a strong show of support amid resounding calls for justice, citizens from across the country turned out in their numbers. Kurt Campbell reports.
Early on the morning of Saturday, 5th September 2020, Isaiah and his cousin Joel Henry arose from their beds and set off for a trip to the Backdam farmlands. From all appearances, it was just another ordinary day. They left without even having breakfast, which would suggest that they intended to be back soon. This turned out not to be the case. The entire day went by. Dusk, night, and dawn came, and they had not returned. Neither were they heard from. The rest of the story has made national headlines, and at this point needs not to be rehashed.
In the procession from Georgetown to Number 3 Village, West Coast, Berbice, thousands of Guyanese joined the family of teen cousins Joel and Isaiah Henry on Sunday to say their final goodbyes. Throughout the day's activities, which included several viewings and services, there was a resounding call for justice to be served, and swiftly so, for the murdered boys. The day's events began with a private viewing of the murdered Henry boys at the Sunday's Funeral Home, Georgetown, where President Irfan Ali and Opposition Leader Joseph Harman attended. The president was among the first persons to join family members for the viewing of the boys ahead of a procession to Number 3 Village, West Coast Berbice, where they were laid to rest. Reflecting on the manner in which the boys died, President Ali said the day marked a very sad day for Guyana. He said the best honor for the memory of the boys should be a commitment to peace and unity.
The murders of Joel, Isaiah, and Harish did not occur in a vacuum, and the reaction to their awful, brutal deaths did not occur without context. We collectively have all contributed to the creation of this horribly deformed society we call Guyana, which has enabled the perpetrators of these gruesome murders to feel sufficiently secure that they could engage in such acts of barbarity.
Following the private viewing, scores of persons were given the opportunity to pay their respects at a farewell service organized by the International Decade for People of African Descent Assembly Guyana. The service was held at the Parade Ground, Middle and Carmichael Streets, Georgetown. The common call among speakers who delivered remarks was for justice, peace, and unity.
My brother loved joking around with his family. There was never a dull moment when he was around. I remember him liking to suck his finger, and he was always goofing around. If any of us was sad, he would find a joke online and send it to us just so we could cheer up. He loved social media, and he used it to share jokes, cheer others up, and post pictures of his niece, who he adores, on his status. He was goofy but quiet, and he spent a lot of time alone in his room. Joel loved spending time with his friends and family. He was a helpful child. He cooked, cleaned, and did all the chores he could have done, so his mom would not have any. He was very tidy, hardworking, and well-mannered. Joel was an innocent soul, our sweet baby brother. He was handsome and always well put together and took pride in his appearance.
Isaiah was a very fun-loving and jovial child who loved to dress up, and have his own money in his pocket. He was also very fond of playing cricket. Many are the plans in a man's heart, but it's the Lord's purpose that prevails.
The funeral of the teen cousins later saw hundreds of people flocking the community center ground at number 5 Village, West Coast, Berbice, transforming the once green field to a sea of red and black. The boys were laid to rest and made a show of support and continued calls for justice, even as family members remember their lives through a series of glowing tributes.
President Irfan Ali has again restated his government's commitment to support the security forces in bringing to justice those responsible for the murders of West Berbice teens Isaiah and Joel Henry and the subsequent murder of Harish Singh.
As I said, the murder of those 3 young men is indeed a sad reflection for all of us as Guyanese, for our country, and it is of critical importance that we solve these gruesome murders and bring those barbaric individuals to justice. The investigations, as you know, is ongoing. I know the police are following many angles of information, but to support the work of the police, we have already activated a mechanism to have a regional help from the RSS and also help from the British government. We are hopeful that in another 8 to 9 days that help can be here to support and complement what the police is doing. But what I can say is that the crime chief and the police are working aggressively. They are following every single area that needs to be followed. And I'm very confident that they, along with the support, would get that justice that we all so badly want. Today I said that, as today is a funeral of the Henry boys, that as a people we should reflect and pray and hope. Let this occasion be one that strengthens us as a people, strengthen our resolve for unity, for peace. And as Guyanese, we should keep the families in our thoughts and prayers, because they're the ones who have to continuously live with the moment. And as president, I call on the wider big Guyanese family to provide that support through prayers.
3 men, including 2 young pilots, were arrested on Sunday night after the police found that an aircraft had crash-landed at 9 Miles Airstrip, Isano, in the Middle Mazaruni River. The authorities later found the second aircraft with a dead body and suspected cocaine on board. We have details from Isanella Patwa.
Hours after police in Isano, Region 7, found a suspected Brazilian Cessna aircraft on Sunday, a second aircraft was discovered with a dead man and suspected cocaine inside, some 600 yards away from the 9 Miles airstrip at Isano on Monday, just after noon. It is suspected that the aircraft's crash landed. No further details were provided by the Ghana Police Force because of the remote location. Regional Commander Superintendent Dion Moore previously confirmed to the newsroom that the second aircraft was found, and in order to have it removed, the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority had to be contacted. 2 pilots, a 38-year-old from Brazil and a 29-year-old from Venezuela, were arrested along with a 35-year-old internet technician from Brazil. The 3 men were found inside the first aircraft. The police said they used Google Translator to question the men. They claimed they were heading to Suriname with another aircraft when the said aircraft developed mechanical problems. As a result of the observation, the pilot crash-landed at the airport at 9 Miles, which caused one of the occupants to sustain a fractured right arm and minor bruises about his face. The aircraft was searched and examined, but there was no visible damage and nothing illegal was found. Police took the 3 men into custody and seized their personal belongings, namely a cell phone, satellite phone, identification cards and other items. The first aircraft remains on the ground under police security. Investigations are continuing. Reporting for the newsroom, I am Isanella Patwa.
When the newsroom returns, President Ali speaks of expectations ahead of the visit of the U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. Welcome back. You're watching the newsroom. The EPNU plus AFC on Monday warned the government against agreeing to anything which will lead to the interference in the affairs of other states when United States Secretary of State Mike Pompeo visits later this week.
We are aware of the imminent arrival of certain foreign dignitaries. We must be careful that in the height of the pomp, no pun intended, and ceremony, that we do not lose our dignity and self-respect and trade our sovereignty, statehood, and hallowed status, the right to self-determination and non-interference in the affairs of other states by agreeing to some unhelpful and unholy agenda that is meant to boost electoral prospects elsewhere later in the year. There has been too much progress made in the last 5 years as we took our case to the National Court of Justice, seeking a peaceful solution, and it will be a travesty of monumental and epic proportions if, Mr. Speaker, we found ourselves in a hot mess and threatened.
Raphael Trotman in the National Assembly earlier today. Now, Mike Pompeo will be the highest-ranking U.S. official to visit Guyana in recent memory. He's expected here on Thursday and will remain on Friday. In an interview with the newsroom, President Irfan Ali spoke about his expectations for the visit.
Well, I will say it's extremely important because we are working towards strengthening our relations with our partners. And of course, the U.S. is a very important and key partner of Guyana. Secretary Pompeo himself has been very vocal on our democracy issues. So I think it's very timely, his visit. There are many issues globally, regionally, that occupy our individual and collective attention. So I think his visit, it is a key time, especially when as a country we are exploring various initiatives in accessing capital, in ensuring that we can have capital that is not only accessible, but that is, for the want of a better word, cheap capital or low interest capital. We also have a transformative agenda that we want all to be involved with. So the U.S. also plays a strong role in the region. So I think it's very important and timely that we have a conversation surrounding all these issues.
What in particular for Guyana you'd be reaching out for?
Well, there are many issues in relation to Guyana that we want to discuss. As I said, more collaboration with the private sector is important, especially when we'll have major investors coming in, and we're talking about local content and all these things, to have agreement on how we can access capital and to fund the various projects that we have. Issues of security is important for us, internal and external security that we must discuss, and we have that I would like to discuss. The support in tackling the drug trade and getting on top of that, not only internally but regionally. Those are some of the important issues. Climate change is another important issue for us. Issues of biodiversity, support for democracy and freedom of people all over the world. Those are things that we are very much interested in.
After a number of visits with farmers on the Essequibo coast that weekend, Minister of Agriculture Zulfikar Mustafa assured that changes in the sector will soon see the improvement of their livelihoods. Farmers were also given the opportunity to voice their concerns regarding issues affecting them.
Rice farming is the largest economic activity on the Essequibo coast, but with the recent paddy bug infestation, it is likely that there will be a shortfall in production. Minister of Agriculture Zulfikar Mustafa, during various outreaches in the region on Saturday, noted that so far, 1 million has been spent to assist farmers affected. During the outreach, it was also highlighted that farmers are also grappling with additional costs for gasoline and chemicals. The minister then assured that farmers will soon be relieved with changes that will be put in place once the 2020 national budget is passed.
We'll also take out the VAT on agriculture machinery, pesticides, chemical, agrochemical. So all those 14% you used to pay on those products, those 14% now will be taken off. So we'll put more money in the farmer's pocket.
Additionally, the minister said he will be out in the field with farmers with a more hands-on approach to ensure these changes happen, and also assured full cooperation to farmers with entities under the ministry.
So whenever farmers go to these entities, the officers them working there, must be instructed to give and help the farmers in our country. The farmers are the people who contribute to our country and who are bringing and making the wealth of our country. So they will ensure that they respond to the needs of youth.
Among the issues highlighted by the farmers are the need for proper drainage and irrigation, lack of water to farmlands, and terrible roads to access the farms. Here is what a few farmers had to say.
Our biggest problem on this Essequibo coast, Mr. Minister, is money. Without money, none of us can go to the field and produce. I wish if this morning, or your time here, we can speak about money. We get our money in time, so we can go to the field in time, beat the climate change, and do better production.
We are asking that we as farmers should be more informed about every aspect of our agriculture business, in every aspect.
My main concern is about this paddy bug infestation. I know personally you can't do nothing really in terms of killing the bugs or anything, but you can sure revise the grading factors in terms of sample, because as you go over 5% of damage, you end up with sample and you live at the mercy of the millers. I think sample should start at between 15 to 20%, because if you have 15% damage, you still have 85% of the paddy, which is good. And 85 out of 100 is excellent.
After listening to the farmers, Minister Mustafa said the issues will be assessed and addressed accordingly. Reporting for the newsroom, I am Isanelo Patwo.
Months after it closed its operations in Guyana, laid off hundreds of Guyanese workers and began shipping its equipment out of the country, the Russian aluminum company Rusal is now locked in serious talks with the new PPP government on the possible resumption of operations in Region 10, but has asked for financial assistance to do so. Kurt Campbell has the details.
Russian aluminum company Rusal, in its talks to return here, has asked the government to help fund the extremely expensive task of restarting its operations and rehiring Guyanese. Natural Resources Minister Vikram Bharat told media operatives on Monday that Rusal has asked the government for financial assistance, but no formal proposal has been put forward for consideration by Cabinet.
And they made a commitment to submit some documents to us. They are also seeking some help from the government too to get back into operations, because they would have signaled to us as a costly venture to get back into operation. So as a result of that, we have engaged NISIL. I wrote to NISIL chairman, Mr. Chung. So the next meeting, NISIL will be a part of that negotiation too. We're hoping that as soon as budget estimates wrap up, sometime next week, we can meet back with them so we can have the company back in operation, because that's the intention of the government. But the Kurubuka mines, as you know, is flooded, and it would take a lot to ensure that it is back in operation and safe also for the workers.
The minister explained that a part of the assistance will be for the government to help with dredging the Berbice River, where the bauxite ore is transported using pontoons to the transshipment point with Ohlendorf carriers. That company has also pulled out of operations here, with Bharat noting their willingness to return once Rusal does.
Rusal is already here. The Russian ambassador would have mentioned that they got instruction from Moscow, to remain in Guyana. So since they're here, we will engage them and to see how these negotiations will work, at least for another few months or so, to get the company back into operation. That would actually be the plan B, or the next step. If Rusal refuses to go back into operation or cannot go back into operation for some reason or the other, definitely we'll have to start looking at other companies.
Rusal has also signaled that it is interested in concessions for retooling and recapitalization. Government is waiting on their proposal before it says what help it will be able to offer. Bharat said the government wants to resolve the matter as fast as possible so that people can go back to work. Rusal owns 90% of the Bauxite Company of Guyana Incorporated, BCGI, while the other 10% belongs to the government. The Rusal company shared a rocky relationship with the previous APNU AFC government and the Guyana Bauxite and General Workers Union, leading to the shutdown of operations in February 3 and laying off of 326 workers from its Aurora mine site. Kurt Campbell, Newsroom.
More news after the break. Stay with us. You're watching the Newsroom. The PPP government is pushing ahead with plans for major infrastructural projects. This was revealed by President Irfan Ali during an interview with the Newsroom.
When you give the school children $15,000 cash allowance, who benefits? When you give the pensioners an increase of pension to $25,000, when you give the pensioners free water, it's more money back in their pockets, more money back in the economy. When you take off VAT on electricity and water, it is not only the businesses that are benefiting, every single household in Guyana would benefit. When we give the $25,000 COVID relief to every household, who would benefit? Not businesses alone, every single household would benefit. When we give the $4,000 uniform allowance back to the children, who would benefit? Everyone would benefit. When the joint services get 2 weeks bonus, who benefits? It's the people who benefit. So these are just some of the initiatives. The $150 million that is set aside for frontline workers. These are people who are out there fighting every day to keep us safe. So I think in the greatest of respect, I don't think Mr. Jordan read the budget. I just think that he needed to say something, and he said what he said. But if you look at all the comments on the budget from all the major stakeholders, the private sector, the manufacturing sector, the livestock industry, the poultry industry, the farmers, it is tremendous. And we are doing this whilst we have a liability of close to $30 billion that they left us with. Unpaid bills of close to $30 billion. And you will see also, Neil, a very aggressive approach. We are not going to wait. I've already asked the Minister of Business to publish an expression of interest for new hotels. I've asked the Ministry of Public Works to publish an expression of interest for the new Damrar Harbor Bridge. I've asked for the publication of interest for water parks, theme parks, investment in the tourism sector, in resorts and lodges. So you will see a series of advertisements. We have the Minister of Foreign Affairs this week will be discussing with his counterpart in Suriname the Quarantine River Bridge. We are moving ahead on all the transformational projects from now.
Back to the budget debates now. Minister within the Ministry of Public Works, Deodat Indar, in his speech defended the budget as one which returns to Guyanese in 1 year all which was lost in the past 5 years. He alluded to the removal of VAT on several items and services and also addressed questions raised earlier by APNU Plus AFC's Raphael Trotman on the state of the Treasury.
Mr. Speaker, what we have seen over the past 5 years, and I've recently had to respond to an article by the former finance minister, Mr. Jordan, that says that the budget is private sector and it does not address people. So that speaks exactly to the collective misguided philosophy of the previous government. Misguided philosophical differences between the PPPC. We believe that private sector is the engine of growth. The private sector creates jobs for our brothers and sisters throughout the country. The world is saying that this budget is a budget to help people. What is in this budget in 1 year gives back to the people that you have taken away for 5 long years. That is what this budget is.
President Irfan Ali says that while he's prepared to work with all parties, he expects that they will be willing to work with him in good faith. The president has called out the PNC for stoking divisiveness.
I intend to involve all of Guyana. But Neil, I didn't want to address this issue now, but you have raised it. We have one government. We have one president. I saw Mr. Harman introducing former President Granger as president and talking about his administration as if there is two presidents. There's one president. There's one president. This government was democratically elected. This government had to fight to ensure that democracy and the will of the people was restored, with the support of the smaller parties, with the support of civil society. And I think that whilst you pose the question to me, yes, we are ready to involve everyone, and everyone will be involved. But the question should be also posed that you can't ask me to play on my team, and then you're telling me you don't recognize my team, or you're disregarding my team. I have a problem with that. I have a problem with that. So yes, as president, my government is ready to involve everyone. But everyone has a responsibility to act maturely. Everyone has a responsibility. What the current opposition put us through in those 5 months as a country and as a people was not an easy journey. It was not an easy journey. But we have gone beyond that because we have to take the country forward. But we have to do so, and they have to do it in a respectful manner. You don't see the president disrespecting anyone. With all that took place, I want to say I'm ready. I've made it clear. I'm a president for all. This is a government for all. We will work with everyone. And what we will not do is allow persons to derail the development agenda.
In his maiden speech in the National Assembly, Opposition Member of Parliament Sherwin Holder on Monday criticized the $330 billion budget presented by the People's Progressive Party government, noting that it is of poor standard. Speaking during the opening of the budget debate, the Region 2 representative on the opposition bench said the $25,000 promised to each household in light of the COVID-19 pandemic is nothing but crumbs.
Mr. Speaker, when the PPP provide jobs for their family, friends, and cronies, they provide only crumbs for the people of Region 2. Who would have guessed that the Guyana, being an oil-producing nation, during a major pandemic that has crippled businesses and households, the government could provide a meager $25,000 and attempt to transform Region 2 into a hamper society? How dare you give us crumbs in our bags while your cronies have full shopping baskets? Mr. Speaker, I close by saying to this nation that this very budget, is not a plan for prosperity, but instead it is their plan to punish me.
Sherwin Holder, the new MP on the floor there in the National Assembly. The newsroom will return in just a moment. This is the newsroom. We move now to sport news, and we start off with cricket. Since the World T20 victory in 2016, West Indies women have endured some mixed results in both versions of the limited overs format. The experienced Brittany Cooper hopes this upcoming bilateral series against host England is the start of them returning to consistency. Akim Green reports.
Though positive results have been better in T20 internationals, they've only won 3 matches from 14, 2 of which were abandoned in their last 4 T20 bilateral series. Additionally, they were unable to progress to the semi-finals at the World T20 earlier this year in Australia, with their last 20 series in England being a 1-0 defeat. As 2 matches were abandoned, Cooper on Monday disclosed that additional preparation due to COVID-19 regulations and quarantine has aided them, and she hopes they can have a consistent run this series.
First of all, I believe we have to be a lot more consistent. That's something we have fall short these past few years, and even series against England need to build a lot more partnership and continue to apply pressure whenever we get the chance to put England under pressure.
West Indies boast some of the most destructive batters in the format, but it has not lived up to expectation. Their last bilateral series prior to this year's World Cup, they lost all 5 matches to India at home, and it was the batting which most disappointed. The Trinidadian Cooper, who has played 67 T20 internationals, said she's confident that the batting should click.
Yes, it is a concern, but since we have a lot of middle practice, and it's showing that the girls are assessing conditions and getting their form in order, and I know all of us gonna pick just at the right time.
The Caribbean ladies are preparing for 520 internationals against England starting on September 21st, and Cooper says they have gelled well with the new management staff and they are excited to see the output of this series. In England, West Indies women have only won once in 8 attempts, with 5 going to England and the other 2 abandoned. For the newsroom, Akin Green.
And now we can join sports editor Avinash Ramzan for the rest of the day's news. I'm Neil Marks. Take care.
Meanwhile, West Indies women's captain Stephanie Taylor said that the Caribbean players are enjoying the new normal of life in a bubble as they prepare to face England in the first of 5 T20 internationals starting September 21. West Indies had their first intra-squad practice game, and according to Taylor, the players are ready for the challenges ahead.
West Indies women here in the UK. How has it been living in the bubble for the past week and something?
It's been really good. We have here some games that's been very enjoyable, and we've been able to utilize it to pretty much our comfort. So it's been really good. We've been able to do some fun stuff like pool and shooting basket, and also do some what do you call that, target practice. So, and even challenging each other. So that's been fun.
You have some milestones coming up that likely to achieve in this series. Is that the forefront of your mind, or you just here to play cricket?
Well, if you didn't say that, I wouldn't know actually. So, pretty much is actually the back of my mind. I'm actually happy to just get back out there and get back to playing. Been away for quite a while, and yeah, just excited and eager to get back out there.
Okay, well, now that I've told you about the stats, right? You're 16 runs away from getting 3,000 T20 international runs to become the second woman in history to do it. Knowing that you know that now, how does that feel?
Well, I guess it's a great feeling to actually reach another milestones, and anyone would be really grateful for all the years I've been playing, and you've actually achieved something now. But I guess for me it's just another milestone. I don't really think much of it. I just pretty much do, when I go out there, I do whatever I can for the team. I always put the team first.
Obviously, you're accustomed with English conditions, playing here in the UK before. How are you going to use that to your advantage?
Well, I wouldn't say I'm accustomed to the UK environment, but yeah, I've played here a few times, or quite a lot, and I still don't think that you get accustomed unless you live here. But not just for me. I think a lot of us has played here before and know what the condition is like. So ball will swing, but you pretty much have to play what you see. And they always said that when the ball is swinging, you have to play on your eyes or play late. So it's been really nice to get out in the middle and get some middle practice, which we've been missing for quite a while, and so far it has been really good.
You set yourself any milestones, any goals for this series?
No, I haven't. Just trying to get myself up to match level, and as soon as it gets closer, I'll start to think about what I really want to accomplish from this tour.
And Ali Khan has become the first player from USA to be snapped up by an IPL franchise, being drafted by the Kolkata Knight Riders as a replacement for the injured Harry Gurney. Khan has been among the best fast bowlers in CPL and among the best performers over the last 3 years, which has earned him contracts in T20 leagues around the world. He was on KKR's radar as a standby player last season as well. This CPL season, he took 8 wickets in 8 matches with an economy rate of 7.43 for champions Trinbago Knight Riders. Khan hits speeds of more than 140 Ks and often bowls in the slug overs and is known in particular for having a good Yorker. His big break on the T20 league stage came in 2018 after he was spotted by the then Trinbago Knight Riders captain Dwayne Bravo at the Global T20 Canada. In his first CPL season, Khan took 16 wickets in 12 matches, the second most among fast bowlers across teams. Since then, he has had stints in the Bangladesh Premier League and the Pakistan Super League as well. Motor racing news, Lewis Hamilton took his 90th career victory by beating Mercedes teammate Valtteri Bottas in a chaotic incident-strewn Tuscan Grand Prix. The race was punctuated by 2 red flags, the first caused by a pile-up on the pit straight, the second by a high-speed crash for Lance Stroll. In one of the most dramatic races for years, 6 cars had retired before a lap of racing had completed. Red Bull's driver Alex Albon took a maiden podium in 3rd. Hamilton's win was his 6th in 9 races this season, and coupled with a fastest lap secured on a penultimate tour, it extended his championship lead to 65 points as the season passes halfway and puts him just 1 behind Michael Schumacher's all-time record of wins.